retire, whether it be the school committee, public works, fire, police, or any other employee of the town, that retire prior to their age of 65, the town of North Reading pays the difference on the HMOs of 70-30 splits. When those people that retire maybe at age 50 reach 65, become eligible for Medicare and Medics, that premium adjustment changes to a 50-50 split. So what we're doing is we're doing things two-phase here. We're paying the people out of the youngest that are in retirement, we're giving them 70% of their premiums, and then when the people reach 65 and they need the money the most, we take the premium away and make them pay the other 20%. Board of Selectmen didn't think that was a fair scenario, so that's the reason that we support this particular article. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. I'm sure there'll be probably some other people that'll speak on this particular article tonight, but the scenario is that the split is not justified, and to take the money away when the people are 65 and older and less apt to be able to have an earned income is just not justified. So the feeling of the board was to justify the warrant that was requested by Mr. Lazenby and pay the premium. Thank you.
Mr. Vino.
Mr. Moderator, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am in support of this article for every reason that Mr. Smith did state. These people who are retired, senior citizens, etc., they're on a fixed income, and I know I've talked to a number of retirement boards, and I'm sure not all of them, but I don't know one that does this, that reduces the benefits. This is morally the right thing to do for these people who are on a fixed income, probably cannot earn the extra money for whatever reason, be it physical or just no jobs available. And I would sincerely hope town meeting would support this, because if we hold it off another year, these people are being affected year after year. Thank you.
Ms. Jenkins, please state your name and address.
Diana Jenkins, 226 Haverhill Street. It is in my opinion that this is a collective bargaining issue, that when the town employees' contracts come up for renegotiation, that this item should be addressed in their contract issues. I don't know anyone that gets a benefit change that is in a union without collective bargaining.
Gentleman in the aisle, just a moment, Mr. Smith. Gentleman was standing before you sought recognition. Gentlemen, please state your name and address, sir.
William Smith, the other William Smith, 151 Chestnut Street. Could we make this more fair by taking the benefit away from the people who are before 65, so that only pay them 50% then and pay them 70% later? Would that cause the books to balance out and be a little more fair?
The other Mr. Smith.
I think I'll answer Mrs. Jenkins' question first. And people that are over 65 are no longer in the bargaining unit, so once they're retired, there's no process there for them to bargain. I don't know what the other, pardon me?
The union contract still exists, and when they retired, there was a contract that was negotiated with their retirement benefits in it. When they retired, they had their package. Believe me, I'm on a fixed income too.
Mr. Smith, are you done with your answer?
I guess it's the same answer. Once they're retired, they're no longer covered by any collective bargaining agreements. So no matter whether they're young or old, they're not in the bargaining unit anymore.
But they were, when they retired, they accepted the package that they received.
Ms. Jenkins, I'm sorry. You will have to wait to be recognized by the chair, and we can't have a one-on-one debate. Gentleman in the aisle, please.
Bill Smith, I didn't get your answer, your question.
Well, okay, I thought you were done.
Well, if the question is that we can't afford to pay them 70% before they turn 65 and only 50% after they turn 65, because that's really unfair, then wouldn't it be more fair to pay them 50% before age 65, save the money, unless they want to save the money themselves? Oh, sorry, personal responsibility, my mistake. And then pay them 70% after age 65, when they really need the money more.
I'm afraid, Mr. Smith, that might be a good idea, but it can't be done under the current article. You might want to bring that back in October.
It can't be done under the current article, and what you're talking about is actually agreed to in their collective bargaining contracts up until they retire, but once they retire, they're no longer in the bargaining unit.
Okay, now let's continue in order. Let's take the gentleman who's patiently standing in the aisle. Please state your name and address, sir.
My name is Gus Lamont, 270 Park Street. It seems to me that if an individual had worked for the town for 20, 30, or possibly 40 years, that at least the town could do was to give him or her the same benefits while he was working that he is retired. You got to remember, these are benefits of people over 65 years age. As Mr. Smith has said, and Mr. Vino has said, at that times in their life is when they need the income or less insurance, and to take a benefit or not give them a benefit, I think is grossly unfair to the town, from the town.
The lady in the aisle, please state your name and address, ma'am.
Barbara O'Brien, 95 Park Street. I'm wondering why we have to do this when there are so many HMOs out there that pay for everything for seniors. And as someone who just became part of one, the only thing I have to pay for is the $5 office visits. So I don't think the town meeting should vote for this. I don't see any reason why they can't go on to a regular HMO. There's so many of them out there. For seniors, that is.
We'll take Mr. Younger first and then Mr. Rowe.
Thank you. We are in the process of looking at HMO Blue 65 to be an addendum to the MedX program. The MedX program would stay, but there would also be an offering of Blue 65 for retirees too. We're looking at that at this point.
Is that something that's going to cost money? I'm talking about something like Secure Horizons, Tufts Plan, and many of the other plans that are available today in which the seniors do not pay any premiums whatsoever.
The Blue 65 plan that we're looking at is also a plan that would be financially beneficial to the seniors as well as the town also. But that would be an addendum for MedX. It's not removing MedX and just going to the Blue 65 plan.
My question was, is there going to be any charge for the premiums?
For the Blue 65 plan, or?
Yes. I mean, I don't see why the town has to pay any premium at all when the individual can apply all by themselves and get involved in these HMOs.
As far as...
Well, the chair will cut this off because this is, we are dealing here with a question of paying 50% or 70%. We're not talking about a plan, an additional health care plan, and that is outside the scope of the article. Mr. Rowe.
Just a point of information, this is not a collective bargaining item. This is a state law. You have to offer this insurance program equally to all employees throughout the town, whether they're union or non-union or department heads or whatever. It has nothing to do with collective bargaining. I feel it's a very important issue. We came before the town meeting quite a few years ago because originally the insurance program was 50-50 throughout the town. And when the employee retired at that particular time, I can't remember, it was when I first came on the job, the employee, when he retired, he lost that benefit and he had to pay his total insurance. And we changed it to 50-50. The way the insurance program came about now with the HMOs, it changed the amount of premiums, and the town had to pay the 70% of the HMOs because they had to pay that portion the same as a regular insurance program. And now we've run into the situation where obviously most employees have chosen to take the HMOs so that obviously it would reduce their premiums. And we feel that now it's a financial hardship for an employee that does retire and is on a fixed income to have to increase his particular portion of the premium. If anything, it should be lowered. And what we're asking for is just to have that premium stay the same when that person reaches age 65.
Lady standing at the microphone, please state your name and address, ma'am.
Diane Norris, 240 Elm Street. Mr. Moderator, through you, I would ask for the premium for our current health insurance and the premium for the medics insurance, we're talking about 50 and 70% as if they were of the same number. Could you, through you either to the town administrator or the chairman of the board, find out the difference between those two premiums?
Mr. Dow, do you understand Mrs. Norris's question, and do you have an answer to it? George Dow is the Director of Finance.
I understand the question, but I don't have an answer at the moment. Give me a second.
Mr. Vino, I noticed you are standing waiting to be recognized. If it's a quick point, the chair will allow it right now, but under our bylaws, we can only speak once, as you know.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to make a point that an HMO is not available to someone who lives out of state. Thank you.
Mr. Dow, does it look like we're going to get an answer?
The new medics rate, which just came in last week, is going to increase to $197 a month. And we're not sure what the single HMO new rate is. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Dow. Mr. O'Brien, Mrs. Norris, just on a follow-up.
Just as a clarification, Mr. Moderator, is that the total premium cost, or is that the retired employee's cost?
Mr. Dow.
That is the total cost.
So the employee's cost is on the order of $90, $95 a month?
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Brien, please state your name and address, sir.
Nick O'Brien, 95 Park Street. I hope someplace through town meeting we remember what's being said here about this fixed income thing. It's very important. It seems to me that when people reach the age of 65, certain benefits come into effect. Am I missing the boat someplace? Medicare, Medicaid, whatever. These things become available at the age of 65. I'm very uncomfortable with the fact that we can't make this particular move and ask some people to pick up some of their own expense. We do have other benefits when you reach 65.
We'll take the gentleman at the microphone and then Mrs. Colella. Please state your name and address, sir.
Michael Houle, 10 Cogswell Road. It seemed to me, unless I heard it wrong, that the Finance Committee and the Selectmen were disagreeing as to whether this was going to come out of the operating budget. The Finance Committee seemed to say that it would be something that we would have to come up with every year from the finance budget, from the operating budget. And the Board of Selectmen are saying that there's some other fund somewhere that already has the money in it. Is there anyone who can clarify that for me?
Right, if you'll turn to page 33 in the warrant, under health insurance, line item under pensions and benefits, and go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, you'll see health insurance. And under the fiscal year 2001 department request, there's a number plugged in there, $1,549,095. What actually happened, and the reason that the supplemental money's in there, is because they had anticipated the insurance cost going up 7%, when in reality the insurance cost only went up 4.5%. So what happened is there's somewhere, I believe, $80,000 or something overage in that particular account.
So am I to understand that the Selectmen are correct for this year only, and the Finance Committee is correct for every year after that?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Mr. Burton, wait a minute. Mrs. Colella, do you still seek? Mrs. Colella, are you still seeking recognition? Could you use a microphone, please?
I'm not sure whether this is a